This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details. And
Mick Talkett.
What up, Talkett? Good to see you, brother.
It's always good to see you.
Likewise, thanks for helping today, Mick Talkett.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you, too.
Yeah.
Stanley Cup Finals Wednesday. And
let's not do it on the weekend. Let's.
Right.
Yeah,
You stepped on my touchdown call, and it was beautiful. It's not that I was going to go down the road.
What are we thinking? We have enough problems in our sport to get.
Right, but I'm thinking more all of us here.
Yes.
Where, it's a state of hockey and hibbing, and, it's like they only play defense in the final 2 minutes. I'm not going to watch the game. I understand your stance.
Yeah.
But the NBA Finals also is this week.
I'm so pumped for that.
At PatMick2626. Please follow him via the tweet machine, as 9 to noon does, if you are so inclined. At PatMick2626. He's hockey immortality, for he is on the mural at Mariucci, and you are not. All you hockey players who want to be on the mural at Mariucci, he is. You're not. That makes him immortality, with all due respect. It's you get the OKC bounces us.
Yeah.
Halliburton bounces Cat.
Ooh.
And you got Florida grinding.
Siakam.
Then you got Edmonton grinding. And then all of a sudden it's like, where are they? Seriously. Wednesday to begin the finals, Thursday to begin the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
I mean, what's a sports-loving room to do?
Makes no sense.
I mean, am I supposed to watch, like, Colorado Rockies baseball or something?
I always love that one.
9 wins.
A lot of unders in there, too. They can't hit.
They can. Oh, my gosh. They are terrible. Can we stay on the NBA for a second?
Sure.
Can the Pacers defend?
Yeah.
Oh.
You're playing really fast right now, and here's why. Because first and foremost,
I know it's Monday. I'm
right,
but start of the week. I'm ready to go.
If you happen to have a spot up bent, as Patrick and I do,
yes,
where we will identify things as elite spot up minds, and we'll be like, well, that team should be favored, and it's not, or that line's like a little off. Well, it happened to me with both championship series. Mm-hmm. It's OKC, Oklahoma City being favored. Well, absolutely.
Oh, my gosh.
6-1. Are you kidding? You're really this scrappy Pacers team.
I almost canceled this appearance today.
Why?
To go to Iowa.
And why do you have to go to Iowa to speculate? Is it because this state treats making a $2 wager on anything sports related?
We don't need to go down that road now.
Akin to slapping your fattest vein, and then applying a tourniquet and heating a spoon, and it's the same thing. Damn it, they're the same. They're analogous.
They are.
Stay out of my garage.
I will.
I understand what you're saying. I'm
all over the Pacers.
I like Indiana plus 470. It's a plus
Are you kidding me?
It's a plus 470 piece, or 450, one of the two. But I'll be like Paul Charchi, and I'll make the highest number, the actual number. So if it wins, I look better.
I always love that one.
Well, I'm going to look great for the Stanley Cup.
Mm-hmm. Because here's the second part of it. Okay. I thought Florida would be favored in the series. Now, we're looking at a 50-50 here. I mean,
we are.
The oil is a minus 120 piece.
Correct.
Something like that, so it's basically even on Sam Bennett and that cast. But I actually thought Florida would be like a tepid favorite in this thing. What about you?
I thought they would be also, especially coming off last year's Stanley Cup, and they're pretty much the same team. A few minor tweaks here and there. However, I'm a bit surprised when I saw the number. But I will tell you this: I'm a winner regardless, and I'm proud of myself because a month and a half ago,
where the heck's this going?
a month and a half ago,
Yeah.
I put money on both teams to win it.
Edmonton and Florida?
Yes.
Rob, covenant
I
clap
can't
for
lose.
me.
And
Well done.
pretty good numbers, too.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine, a racetrack friend of mine,
Yes.
who somehow caught the Timberwolves to win the NBA championship. Now, I mean, it's a ripped up ticket, but it was close to 100 to 1. And my man put a nickel on it. I mean, and then the way they were playing to certain parts of this thing, I'm like, damn, man, you might want to jump on something called prop swap and like sell this thing right now before we hook Dagnall and he finds all the warts in the proverbial ointment.
You know, speaking of the Wolves, we're all down and disappointed with, but they could have won that series. I mean, they could have won that series. The momentum just.
OKC?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because I think they were as good or better than OKC. I think the momentum, which I think is a huge part of things, and the Wolves got a little discombobulated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't do that if you expect to win, but they did.
Mm-hmm.
But had they carried that momentum from the 40-point win, which was a tight one the next night, right? They lose by
Monday.
2 points.
Yes.
They lose by 2.
Yes.
And, you know, I'm sure.
They were the wrong side every minute of that Memorial Day night game.
So what?
I was in attendance. They were down by 6, 7, 8, 9-ish the whole game.
Yeah, so what?
DiVincenzo hits a 3, ties it at 79, but then it goes pear-shaped again.
Right.
So
and that may have been the kicker to winning the series. They win that game. We don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
It's going.
But I
7.
left the Oklahoma City series with just even more respect and adulation shared for Nikola Jokic than I had even into the postseason this year. Think about it. Almost single-handedly, he pushed those suckers to 7 games.
When they had no right to do that.
Right. And then another thing I was thinking about, and it's not healthy, and it's not healthy from a sports standpoint,
No.
and I'll be the first to concede it.
That's why we meet on Mondays.
It's Anthony Edwards. All right, a couple of years ago, we played Memphis in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And Ja Morant had his way with everybody.
Yes, he did.
And then it was kind of like, all right, well, Ant needs the race. Okay, Ant got the race. Then we move on. And Edwards, one of the best overall players in the NBA, ain't no doubt about it. But the most recent snapshot is this. When you're playing old people, LeBron James and Jimmy Butler, when you're playing hefty people, Puffy, Luka Doncic, and then everything around those guys looking pretty darn good. But then you run into the youth of America, and funny how things get neutralized.
The youth, but here's here's the kicker of that: the maturity of that youth, the maturity, the ability to not panic, and throw up. What's the 3-point line? 21 feet.
What do I look like, James Naismith? Let's say 22-8,
Okay.
23.
When you're when you're throwing them up from 27, when you don't have to, when you can settle for the 2 points and stay in the game, right, and defend and get in
23-9.
Okay,
23-9 center of the
and
basket.
you're throwing them up from 26.
The corners are 22.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
the corners are 22.
So you could just see. We need a basket. I'm going to take an ill-advised shot at the wrong time. That's maturity.
Yes. I understand that, but I mean, maturity can come with age, but also with vulnerability and self-awareness.
Yes.
So therefore, you will mature for the betterment of the fist of the team if you first look in the mirror and recognize I'm not as good at these things as maybe I think I am. And SGA and those guys just kind of prove that. So I need to reconfigure and recalibrate myself for the betterment of the team.
Understood.
Well, they got to do that first.
That's within the fabric of the team. That's within the coaching staff of the team.
Yeah.
That's within the bench players of the team. To grab a guy and settle him down or pump pump them up or whatever you have to do. That's all part of it, I think.
Just so with the controversial talker.
I'm glad you're going there.
We unfurled on a Talkback Tuesday, which actually is a Motown Monday. When it comes to hardest and or easiest pro sports to coach, we were in unison. Major League Baseball is the easiest. It's not even close. Same. And the NFL's the hardest, and it's not even close. But see, I think hockey is closer to football from a difficulty standpoint than I think some people in the state of hockey may think, and you would know more about it than me.
I will say this. I think, and your wonderful producer, Mr. Nordquist,
the con,
Miko, and I were having a little conversation, and I think the coaching has changed so much. All the coaches are our coaching level today is off the charts good.
In all sports or hockey?
Well, in hockey for sure.
Got it.
I can't tell you about football or basketball because I'm not around those people.
I got you.
I don't see it as much. But the analytics, which are involved in every sport, in rowing, probably, right? Cricket.
That's a separate Monday with Mick.
Yeah, right.
Well, I just with hockey and football, I just don't. In the ultimate team games,
well, we've had these arguments here before.
No, you and I don't argue. That's you and Blakemore.
Yeah.
By the way, he wanted me to remind you he did pick the Dallas Stars to get to the Western Conference Final.
I always love that.
And they did.
Yeah, good. And that was rightly good for him.
Yeah, there we go.
Good for him. And that's a good call on his part.
No, thank you, Pat.
Sure, Brett.
Oh, you're being very kind.
Yeah. But I think in hockey, I'll say, what we have this conversation per, Marco Rossi. Should he be in? Should he be in? Or should Joe Blow be in or, Johnny Doe or whoever, right? Well, the numbers say, at that level, you cannot use analytics to the nth degree.
Right.
Because a coach has a feel, and we talk about the mentality of a team, and we talk about, all of those things that a coach sees.
Yeah.
And I think the difficult part of coaching in the NHL is some of the players not being able to accept a role and be happy in that role for the betterment of their team. That's why we have Florida and Edmonton in.
Right.
Because both those coaches are dialed in. They know their teams. They're two different teams. Two different teams we're going to see on Wednesday night. From a playing perspective, no question about it. And you can win different ways. You just don't need X or Y.
Yeah.
And so I think hockey can be really, really difficult at times because the emotions of the players and their expectations themselves really play a big part in it.
Barkov won the Selke.
Yes.
9 to noon is learned. He plays for the Florida Panthers. We'll start seeing him on Wednesday in the Stanley Cup Finals. Mick Tockett, Pat Micheletti at Pat Mick 2626. Who do you trust more in this situation and why? Bobrovsky or Skinner?
Oh my God.
Another controversial topic, 9 to noon.
Well, either Skinner's going to post a shutout, or he's going to give up 6.
Really? It's one of those?
It's one of those. I think once he gives up a couple, Edmonton really gets loose, and then they don't help him. So that hurts. That hurts what he does. Florida plays the same game throughout 60 minutes. They don't change, and they help Bobrovsky quite a bit. Now, Bobrovsky is terrific. I mean, when he was one of the first guys as a goaltender to sign for $10 million. All right. And people are like, how can you pay this?
Yeah.
And he had a terrible year.
Bobrovsky wasn't even the Panthers' starting goalie when they went into the postseason in 2023.
Correct. He was not. And so he's certainly lived up to that contract, and he's been fantastic. So, and Florida, by the way, does not have a player that makes over $10 million a year.
Wow.
And
key.
It's huge. I mean, Barkov, who many think is the best two-way center in all of hockey.
That's why Sam Bennett's going to leave and become a centerman for the Minnesota Wild so he can make more than $10 million.
that is, we can talk about that another time about Sam Bennett and is he worth the money? That's another day. But to answer your question, I think Bobrovsky would have the edge going into this series.
How much does, at this stage of the equation, how much does home ice matter when it comes to housing a championship in the NHL?
It doesn't.
Yeah, I don't think it does much either.
It doesn't, because you know what? And, you get the big crowd, the crowds, there's going to be 19,000 in Edmonton. There's going to be 19,000 in Florida, right? And yes, the home team is going to have the majority of the fans. But when you are protected by that glass, and when you are out there, and once the shine of the excitement comes down a little bit, it's just the same thing.
Maybe we're shortchanging.
Like, I love, back in college.
Yeah.
I love playing on the road because there was nothing better than going into Dane County Coliseum in Madison, right? 8,600.
Go on.
And
was it called Ingolstadt when you played at Grand Forks?
It was, but it was the older.
Oh, it was the barn.
It was a barn. It was they used to call it the miniature Met Center.
Really?
You weren't around here for that, were you?
No, no Met Center for me.
Okay. Fantastic.
But Metropolitan Stadium, where Mall of America is, likewise for Met Center. I mean, who doesn't?
That's what it was. That's where it was.
If you're old enough, like you and I, Brent Musburger, you are looking live at Metropolitan Stadium as the Minnesota Vikings host the Los Angeles Rams. And it was
Vince Ferragamo.
NFL Today.
Remember Vince Ferragamo?
Absolutely.
Okay, just
NFL Today with Irv Cross.
Yep.
And Phyllis George.
And
Jimmy the Greek Schneider.
Yes.
And Brent Musburger. That was the bomb.
It was the best.
Now the pregame shows, which I don't get to see frequently because the Vikings have games at noon, is you got like 7 people on those panels, man.
Yeah.
It's like, here is Howie and Terry and Tockett and Nordo and Donner and Blitzen, and I'm Paul Allen, and let's talk about the Vikings and the LA Rams.
Right, exactly.
So that people get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, it was fabulous.
Maybe, perhaps, when it comes to line changes, okay? And when it comes to something Nordo and I are still really trying to wrap our minds around, the ever-important, controversial last change.
Oh, my gosh.
And mentally, everything that goes into that super special facet of a game. Maybe because of last change and line changes, and then changing personnel on lines during games, perhaps we're shortchanging NHL coaches, and perhaps they should be first when it comes to hardest pro sports coaching job.
Can be. But we when it works, it works. When it doesn't, it's never talked about. When have you ever heard an analyst on ESPN, TNT, wherever, FanDuel Sports, say, "Wow, did you see what he did there?" And he put
the coach, feeling it,
put Caprice, We don't hear it a lot, but sure.
I'd like to head south and ponder the Florida Panthers for a sizable ML wager to win the Stanley Cup Final, but they're the road team to begin, and I just can't fill my tank and get around last change.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, honestly, it's going to cost me 3 mortgage payments because the Panthers 4 times might not have last change.
And, you can ponder that one. And
what is so freaking important over the balance of a game about last change? It matters. When does it matter? First time.
Well, if you can put Connor McDavid out against the number 5 and number 6 D, and you get a face-off in the offensive zone.
Okay. Those 45 seconds of my life I never may get back.
Correct.
Okay. Well, then the rest of it's normal.
Then the rest of it's normal.
Well, last change sucks. I mean, who cares?
It's over.
LaPanta was in here one time. They get last change, and that's the reality. And, I'm like, okay, cool. So after the first 45 seconds, I got a chance.
Right. But, and then, you want to talk about last change with Florida?
Yeah.
Well, they've got Barkov, Sam Bennett, Esa Lindell.
Reinhardt. Oh, no, Reinhardt?
He's a winger.
Oh, Marchand, by the way. Yeah, it's his first year there, right?
First 20 games there.
Oh, geez.
He was traded at the deadline.
Oh, Marchand.
People in Boston.
It was a deadline move.
Yeah.
Wow.
People in Boston were
really
freaking out.
As much as losing Charlie
captain.
Coyle?
I always love that one.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Jason Tatum pops in Achilles. What? Jason Tatum popped in Achilles. He won't even play next year, probably. Oh. And I have to deal with Charlie Coyle being traded.
Right.
I always love that one.
It's tough being a Bostonian sports fan,
it is.
Right?
Yeah, boy, they don't win
I
enough
wasn't aware of how beloved he was, though. Because
Marchand?
As an outsider, I just see him licking people's faces and stuff, and
He
just
puts his tongue in the ears of men.
Yeah.
I always love that.
So
one.
between him and Lance Stevenson, they can have a tongue contest. But apparently
guy,
just super eternally beloved.
Yes.
Inside Beantown.
Inside Beantown, inside any team he's on.
Yeah.
And you know why I like him so much, and a lot of people don't? He's got some rat in him.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
It's that
he's crappy as bleep.
You know, if you and he were best friends, right?
Yeah.
And you were playing against him, going up against him,
He'd kill me.
he would kill you.
That's what he does.
And doesn't care, and will talk to you not during the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not after the game, maybe after the season.
Hey, in closing,
because he just
in closing for this segment, with the ever hyper
Mick Talkett.
I am hyper.
I'm looking at a story right now. Boy, you nailed it with what's Skinner's first name? Sean.
I call him Leonard.
Leonard Skinner. Yeah, with Leonard Skinner. He's allowed 30 goals in his 20 wins in the past two postseasons. Yeah. 30 goals in 20 dubs last two postseasons.
How many shutouts?
Including 5 in 6 wins this year. However, he also has allowed 51 goals in the 13 losses, including 20 in 4 this year. Boy, boom or bust, you nailed that.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this series could be...
They benched him in the L.A. series.
For Pickard. That's who Pickard is.
Pickard got hurt.
Yeah, Calvin Pickard. Who knew?
No, Calvin Pickard. Yes.
That's his name.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Calvin Pickard.
I was thinking of the
poor man's Rogie Vachon.
The netminder for who? Chelsea?
For Chelsea?
Oh, yeah.
Brad Guzan?
Pickard.
Yeah, Brad Guzan.
Yes, he's still there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went to Joliet Catholic in Chicago and at one point played for Aston Villa. But anyway.
Yeah. Oh, very good.
By the way, that segment you just heard was the Steve's Appliances Marathon segment.
Jordan Pickford.
Steve's Appliances, we love you. And we love Jordan Pickford with Everton, who undoubtedly would get his cooktop from Steve's Appliances.
He would indeed.
The Memorial Day sale ends Wednesday. All right. Now, we keep telling you about this in these marathon segments because there's gold in them thar hills. Guaranteed low prices on appliances from Steve's, plus free recycling, though. Not many offer that. Steve's does, and they do so graciously.
And I got it a couple of weeks ago, and I can't tell you how smooth it is, man. I got a new washer and dryer. I'm in the thick of it at home and taking L's. Dryer sounds like a Harley starting in my mudroom.
Yep.
And Steve's were unbelievably helpful.
I got a neighbor in my neighborhood who bought a dryer and did not buy it from Steve's Appliances. And the recycling, which was free, meant taking it from their washer-dryer room and leaving it atop their driveway.
I always love that.
So
one.
I'm like,
what are you doing?
What's next? A car on blocks and a kid running out of the front door with a T-shirt with peanut butter and jelly all over it like I'm watching Cops? Seriously.
Cotton John.
Why are you trying to talk about my last neighborhood like that?
StevesAppliances.com, StevesAppliances.com, StevesAppliances.com. Don't forget it. We'll be right back. Get it, Kim. Hey, we discussed it a little bit before the con returned. And speaking of Nordo, yours truly at the 64686, which would be the text machine. Yours truly is catching some strays for the weekend wrap 90 minutes ago, where I got about 3 people being like, weekend wrap. You know, how come you didn't include the undefeated Lynx and beloved Loons who stopped the Hex against the Seattle Sounders? And I'm like, brah, Nordo puts together the content.
So
I always love that.
I read it. He puts together the content and the highlights, and I read it.
I always love that.
I
one.
made the
Can I look
suggestion,
under the bus?
and he's like, the clock.
I'm going to look under the bus.
Okay, right, go
there
ahead.
you are.
Well, you're going to find carnage because 64686 went after me. And it's Nordo who puts together and times out the content so that we get close to hitting the 12.
That is correct.
It's very important.
I decided there wasn't room for the WNBA. Soccer's a daycare sport.
Yeah.
And I said when he had Pat Micheletti on, who loves hockey, he's on the mural at Mariucci. I said, let's not bring up the Frost either.
Fair.
Yeah. So that was
Unfair
all, that
because
was
of the
all
11
me.
o'clock guest who may be listening, driving in.
Nordo, did you watch?
That was all me.
Did you watch PSG and Inter?
No, I did not.
Oh,
What's PSGN?
well, go ahead, tell him.
What's
It's
PS?
Paris Saint-Germain.
Yeah.
And Inter Milan. Champions
It's what?
League.
Inter
Champions
Milan?
Champions League.
I haven't followed Inter Milan since Samuel Eto'o,
I always love
the
that
greatest
one.
Cameroonian of them all, played for
Yeah.
Inter Milan.
That's a great poll.
That is
Absolutely.
huge.
Thank you. So, we're putting the
Okay,
weekend wrap
yeah.
together and everything, and Nordo's like,
Soccer?
What about, I said to him, okay, well, we're a little short here. We got the Twins, we got this Kyle Pitts thing, and Jalen Ramsey, and riding on the Kwesi train. All right, we're going to get close to that 12, but, I'm like, what about the WNBA? What about the Lynx? I think they're undefeated. And he said, did they play the Fever?
I always love that one.
And I said, no.
No.
And he said, they're out. Hey! Okay.
I'm pro head injury in sports.
Okay.
I am anti women's sports.
Oh boy,
Did
you
they
are.
play the Fever and double C? The answer's no.
That was a
Then they're
fair
out.
question.
Then they're out. All right.
All right.
So with the Stanley Cup finals.
Yes.
Do you love Florida? Do you like? I mean, this. I've had elite hockey minds tell me the last 2 days that this series should be amazing. Stanley Cup Finals, NHL playoffs are the bomb in the first place. I can't exactly remember when these two teams met last year. Like, what were the games like? Were they high scoring? Low? I'm gonna believe me. I'll have all this squared away by
I can't
Wednesday.
remember. Yeah,
But just as of
can't
now,
remember. Yes, what
can't
happened
exactly
yesterday.
remember.
No, but I will tell you.
I'm trying to figure out what happened to Yamamoto last night.
Here's why I love the matchup. Here's why I love the matchup, because it's two different teams, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Other people may have other opinions. Florida is a team that will grind you, that will play the same way throughout the whole game. Where you have Edmonton, if they are going to win, and this guy who is the best player in the world, Connor McDavid,
Well, why is Connor McDavid the best? Why isn't it Nathan McKinnon?
because I think McDavid.
So it's your opinion.
I think McDavid does more. I really
That's
do.
not like a league or a worldwide
No,
opinion.
I'm sure some people think
Same fishbowl, different rocks.
Yeah. But I think
McDavid's the bomb. Don't get me wrong.
McDavid is going against the top three centers in the league defensively, and
Bennett's not good.
Bennett is. Bennett.
Well, let's give him $12 million and get him here after they win the Stanley Cup Final. Are you kidding me? You want Kaprizov to stay? Find your way to Bennett.
We'll talk about Bennett
That was
another
a
time.
controversial take right there.
Well, yeah, it was, because I don't know if Bennett's worth $10 million.
I don't know if Kaprizov is worth $9 million. I'm kidding. Nordo put that in the script.
I wrote that down
just
too.
read it.
Yeah.
And he might get double that.
I'm down on
Scary.
Kaprizov.
Right.
Yeah.
It's pretty good in the
It's a lot of
playoffs.
money. Well,
Anyway. DeBoer had a problem with him.
I can't watch.
Twice.
I can't wait to watch McDavid.
Yeah.
Because if Edmonton is going to win,
Yeah.
it's going to take.
Well, tell me I'm wrong. 64686. Caitlin Clark, this butt. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think it's going to take.
Herculean effort.
Yes. And Edmonton is a quick strike team. They can score 3 goals in a minute and a half,
Evan
right?
Bouchard is the most underrated defenseman in the NHL.
He can shoot the puck.
Correct.
Their power play is phenomenal.
Drew Doughty wishes he was him.
Don't even know where I'm going with this. But anyhow, I really think the matchup between the centermen are going to be just, and can Barkov shut McDavid down? Because that, I think, will be the matchup. They'll try to get McDavid away from him as much as they can.
So you read NHL.com before you came here. Because,
I
you're layering one by one this bit I was thinking of stealing, but you're just like stealing every take from it. It's, well, for instance, you called Marchand or Marchand?
Whatever. Brad.
All right, so you called Bradley a rat, which they've done here at NHL.com.
Have they?
Which is, it's affectionately used here.
Yep.
But then you got into depth scoring.
Yep.
All right. Well, here's what's written at NHL.com.
Connor Brown.
The Panthers and Oilers have made it back to the Stanley Cup Final as much for their depth as their goaltending, defense, and star power. The team that continues to get more of it will likely have the upper hand in the series. Now, you stole that whole line word by word. They Nordo put it in my script, but I didn't want to plagiarize.
Maybe they stole it from me.
They both have had 19 unique goal scorers. Unique goal scorers. Okay, that's not analytics. That's just me. Okay.
Yep.
Tied for the second most in Stanley Cup playoff history through 3 best-of-7 rounds. The 2019 Boston Bruins and the 1984 Oilers each had 19 unique goal scorers. The 87 Flyers, go crazy Joe O'Donnell, and the 93 Leafs at 20. The Oilers have 14 forwards with at least one goal. Well, this is boring. So you didn't steal any of the boring part.
No.
Aaron Ekblad this, Nate Schmidt that. Seth Jones.
Another
right.
Huge addition at the trade deadline that they got from the Chicago Blackhawks.
Well, there's I thought he was still a Hawk.
And he's in there. He's in their top 4.
Wow. How about this? The last ride. Ooh, this is emotional to close. NHL.com if you want to get emotional with us. Aaron Ekblad.
Yeah.
Ekblad has played 8. What's funny?
Well, do you know about Aaron Ekblad, right?
What?
Well,
about
he was suspended for the last 20 games of the year.
Okay.
For steroid use.
Okay. Is he playing?
He's playing.
That's a nice league.
Yeah.
Ekblad has played 809 games in a Panthers uniform, regular season and playoffs combined. He is the franchise's all-time leader in games played among defensemen and second overall behind Alexander Barkov's 892 games played. Ekblad is also in the last year of an 8-year contract.
Yep.
He can become unrestricted July 1st.
Correct.
Who needs Sam Bennett? Oh, wait. Similarly, forward Sam Bennett is in the last year of his 4-year contract. Yep. Bennett, like Ekblad, can become unrestricted July 1st.
And he's going to get overpaid. There's no question about it.
Bennett has been with the Panthers since April of 2021. Since that time, Bennett has played 360 games. He doesn't miss dances, does he?
No.
360 games, 71 in the playoffs.
I think he was involved in the Kachuk trade.
He has 10 goals this postseason.
Yeah,
holy cow. How can you say he's going to be overpaid? He's going to be fairly paid.
Has it already been that long since they swapped Huberdeau?
Yeah,
wow.
It has.
Oh, yeah.
It has.
Jonathan Huberdeau.
This is a sweet series. I mean, last year, Edmonton, you mentioned they can score goals in like 3 seconds, it feels like, but they couldn't score in the first 2 games.
Correct.
You had the nail biter. You're down 3-0. They won 3 straight to force Game 7. So
when did John Tortorella start producing 9 to noon?
I looked it up. I had to look it up and remind myself.
Wow.
Now he's going to bench you.
That was, and then yell at you in the press conference.
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, in closing, Saturday, if you ain't doing anything, Canterbury Park, we start at 4 o'clock Saturday. Normally we start at 5. We're going to start at 4 on Saturday, and here's why. The Belmont Stakes. Now, hear me when I tell you this, because you got some spot up to you.
Yes.
No Triple Crown winning chance, we know that.
No, but
Sovereignty was a spectacular, eye-opening winner of the Kentucky Derby. Journalism, who ran second in the Derb, was unbelievably impressive in the Preakness. Now, I've followed and seen this for quite some time, the fan has learned. There aren't usually years where there are 2 or 3 3-year-old horses who are this high end, this talented, this mean, and this good. So Saturday in the Belmont Stakes at 1.5 miles, I believe it's 1.5 miles at Saratoga Racecourse, they're going to meet. And a horse who had an incredibly troubled trip in the Derby, Baeza.
Going to bring
I know. Now, if they're, what's 19 times 4? 76. When I broke down the all 76,
I always loved that one.
19 horses in the Derby, each with 4 legs.
Right.
I always
When
loved
I broke
that
down the all 76, Baeza, I'm not going to say he
I
should have
know.
won, but he was an on-charging
boy,
machine after he
I
avoided
know.
that trouble.
It's going to be a great race.
He's in the race. You're going to get him at fat odds. Everybody's going to be looking at the Derby
Probably,
winner,
what,
journalist
7-1?
Lavelle and Alec
7?
and the Scribe are going to be out there betting journalism
Yeah.
with integrity, of course.
Yeah.
And Mick Talkin and I are going to sit back with 100 each to win on Baeza. Just ruining the party at
We
about
are.
9-1.
We are.
Hey, so Saturday, I'll remind you, and here's why. Because I'm not in an early June position to receive a text message from you next Saturday at 2:30 in the afternoon requesting $480 of bets off my voucher. So why don't you just come out and give me the money and make your own bets, okay? Thank you.
Yeah.
We're only 2 weekends
Hey,
in.
great to see you.
You too.
All right.
Love
bye.
you very much. Bye. Pat Micheletti at Pat Mick 2626. This is 9 to noon.
What up? It's News to Nord, which is brought to you on a daily basis by The Casino at Canterbury Park. Feeling the felt all year round. Poker, blackjack, and table games, along with live racing. A couple weekends in, you can jump to CanterburyPark.com and lock in the live racing schedule, and you'll have all that intel. CanterburyPark.com. You heard PA talking with Micheletti last segment that it's an early start because of the Belmont. So you're going to be able to hang out. You're going to be able to watch, wager, and win on the local side of things, but also follow the tail end of the Triple Crown racing that takes place at Belmont Park. And again, CanterburyPark.com is the spot to go for all related details. Now, to the baseball team, 2 out of 3 was bad for this one.
1-1 tie, bottom of the 9th inning. The stretch, the 2-1 pitch, swinging a ground ball, up the middle, base hit. The Mariners win it. Randy Arozarena jumps on first base. A walk-off single. Julio scores, and the Mariners win it 2-1 over the Minnesota Twins.
That courtesy of Mariners Radio. Now, the Minnesota Twins, who, for the most part, they win all those games in a row. Then at least they're winning series. They had to split with the Guardians because of a postponed affair. They take 2 out of 3 against Kansas City. Then they lose 2 of 3 in Tampa, lose 2 of 3 against the Mariners, and they're probably excited to head out to the Bay Area. Well, that's kind of weird to say, but all the same, they get an opportunity against the Athletics, starting with a late one, 9 o'clock tonight.
Not many are excited to go to the city of Sacramento, and I can say that because I've driven through it a million times en route to South Lake Tahoe.
Why am I
Place
dumb?
ain't great.
They're not playing in the Bay. That's right. They're playing in Sacramento as
technically, I mean, North. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
you wouldn't consider that to be part of it. Is Sacramento? Where's Fresno in this conversation?
Central California.
Central. Okay.
Another town that does not excite many when they get the opportunity to go to Fresno, and I can say that because I've been there.
And that's your daily California geography lesson brought to you by The Casino at CanterburyPark.com.
Always.
I was driving around yesterday morning. Sunday Sermons was rolling, and I was actually kind of amused by this bit. On Saturday, PA, Carlos Correa, and it was like his 1,243rd game of his Major League Baseball career. Mm-hmm. He was ejected for the first time from the on-deck circle.
Wow.
As part of that loss. So I found this from SI.com, but they're using our guy Phil Miller of the Star Tribune, some quotes that Miller shared. This is Carlos Correa, gets ejected in the 5th inning. He called a pitch on me that was a 3%er, and I asked him where he had it. Every umpire says, I missed it. And he said it was right there. Yep. So at that point, I knew that he was having trouble with the strike zone. I'm on deck, and Brooks is getting some pitches that were borderline. I just said, you've got to get him up. You've got to make an adjustment. You can't call that all day. That's all I said.
Oh, geez.
And he threw me out.
So he became head of the umpiring union or something like. He's telling him, you got to get those up. You can't do that every batter.
Yeah, I assume. I mean, who knows what the...
You threw him out? That's stupid.
It does note in the article, and here's what he says. He doesn't know me. He doesn't know my character. I guess Austin Jones just became an umpire or started getting full-time umpire work a year ago.
I'm sure the hiring process was in lockstep with merit.
But that relationship would be interesting. I would like the idea, again, the human element of it, despite how constipated things can be. There's 162 of these games. If a little bit of honesty and a little bit of humility in the conversation where it's like, dude, you've been giving people the low strike all day.
Yeah.
You've been giving, let's get consistency. If you're going to include 6 inches off the plate on the far side of the batter all game, just do that all game then at least, that sort of thing. So I bet you there's some banter back and forth. But he says, I didn't even think he could hear every word I said. He just pulled the trigger for some reason. It was definitely a weird situation because I understand the situation of the game. I cannot get thrown out. So I'm never going to disrespect an umpire. I'm never going to say anything that would make them want to throw me out. First time in his career. Like the all-time, like one of the great Major League Baseball nice guys, Carlos Correa, getting yanked in the 5th from the on-deck circle.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn more about this Austin Jones. I mean, he is absolutely a newbie in this whole thing. I mean, all these umpires scorecards. I mean, maybe if we were driving south on 35 Dub, we'd be looking at these umpire scorecards. But he looks young. I don't know what his motive was there. You know, umpires get to have bad days too. Human nature and personal life clipping penalties get to win with umpires too. I don't want to say I have a problem with it because I don't care enough about it to actually have a problem with it. But baseball people, seam heads and players and managers have said over the course of time, it's just amazing. And it's kind of an art here. I mean, so let's appreciate and respect the art. It's Abner Doubleday in a square designed what was the strike zone.
Yeah.
Okay? So now you got players when Abner Doubleday developed it who were an average height of 5'10". Well, now we got people who are like 6'5". All right, so the square needs to become a rectangle. All right, so obviously there is an obtuse nature to this with the shape of the strike zone.
Right.
But that is the strike zone. So if Wendelstadt guy is like, okay, well, if it's slightly outside and slightly low, he calls them all the time. Okay, well, then the next day, Eric Gregg guy is slightly inside, slightly sternum high. It's just you can use the intel and the analytics and the umpire scorecards and that whole thing to get squared away. But if they change, well, then everybody's messed up. And Nordo and I honestly would like to know if they are changing because there's an under.
I always love
to
that
be
one.
Taken right there to just pay the bills.
To the NBA, final series is set.
Into the forecourt, Halliburton, all the way to the goal. He lobbed it to the rim. Checkmate! Checkmate! Toppin with a dunk.
Sweet baby.
That's Mark Boyle, Pacers Radio.
He's done it forever, man.
Yeah, he had. I think it's 30. So he watched from the Reggie Miller choke sign and all of that. So he watched those big Pacers-Knicks series in the 90s from the catbird seat.
Yeah, I know the name.
He's still doing it.
I know the name because in 2003, okay, my first season calling Vikings games with absolutely no professional experience doing it. My first season, 2002, I don't know, I thought I did an okay job. But you know, there were some after one of those 2 seasons, including the owner of the Vikings at that time, God rest his soul, who didn't necessarily see some things the same way I did. But then the more I learned about it, that just was the former owner's way of always having people work hard, keeping them on their proverbial toes. You with me on that?
With you.
Well, the new marketing manager was a wonderful guy. I love the guy, Steve LaCroix. He had just gotten hired. So then I'm like, that's great. Next Vikings play-by-play guy is going to be something called Mark Boyle.
I always love that one.
I'm out. What's up, Parker? Owners all over me for the no. The Cardinals have knocked the Vikings out of the playoffs. And now I got Mark Boyle terrorism up in the mix. But fortunately, Mark decided to stay with the Indiana Pacers because his team might win a championship this year. Checkmate.
He did indeed. So it will be Pacers and it will be the Oklahoma City Thunder kicking off later this week. And it's going to be a fun series that we'll talk about next segment. In other news, of course, the Lynx stay undefeated, PA. They beat the Bay Area Valkyries by 11. And the Loons, as you mentioned with Micheletti, Minnesota United Football Club, they get their first positive result in Seattle with a 3-2 victory over the weekend, just yesterday, as a matter of fact. So congratulations to them. And that wraps up News du Nord, brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park. CanterburyPark.com, the spot to go for all event and ongoing fun details down in Shakopee.
Yeah, and lastly, with the WNBA, which means a lot to 9 to noon, the Indiana Fever lost to the Connecticut Sun on Friday, 85-83. I didn't watch it. Why? Caitlin Clark is hurt and she didn't play.
I always love that.
So therefore, I missed every WNBA game the entire weekend. And we'll wait for her to come back. Hopefully she doesn't get bullied, and we can all
re-engage.
We can re-engage Friday nights together with Ion. You get Criminal Minds, then you get a WNBA game, and then you get 19 more episodes of Criminal Minds.
And then an Agatha Christie TV movie, and you call it a day.
That is indeed News du Nord. It's 11 o'clock. Good morning. P. Fox, Parker Fox, Elite Basketball Mind, joins 9 to noon in the studio next.